I'm thinking about making another video, and I don't want to choke because I've had I think that was my third very, very, very just a few crumbs put in a single skin. So yeah, I made a video after two of those and a cup of coffee. And came out with some really deep stuff. You know, the pain of my transition, due to being attacked and nearly dying, sort of like 8 years ago, and the post-traumatic stress disorder from that was coming back because as I near the end of my transition, being 100% female, the post-traumatic stress disorder comes back because the thing that caused the initial abuse was because I came out as trans. That's what caused it all. So the nearer I come to completely becoming a woman, the more the feelings of I'm going to die any second, within a second, I'm going to be dead, sort of feelings from that attack keep coming back. It can come back at me in the way of like, I'm going to commit suicide, I'm going to be murdered, or which is what would have happened if things had gone too far, before, or I'm just going to drop dead, Or did I say I'm just going to drop dead, or I'm going to be murdered? So yeah, it was a good video. I mean, it's just my story, I wouldn't say it was like a typical trans story because it's my story. And every person is different. Every person, trans or cis, experiences their life different and has a different story. So that's my story, and it really made my transition just lately very, very difficult. Very difficult. I have to stop this thing shaking. And I went into how I've had 2 clonazepam tonight, so I can smoke weed and I can drink coffee and it doesn't give me anxiety. This really is shaking. Just have to hold it. So that was good. I'm seeing my mum on Thursday. To be fair, there's a distance between us, and I don't know if it's from the days when I was on hard drugs and I was spending all my money on it, and she, although I never asked her for any money, this is my imagination and just me expressing myself, but maybe she felt there was a danger of me asking her for money because of being a nasty druggie, bigotry. And She wanted to emotionally cut me off, be present, be around me, but be completely emotionally unavailable. It literally was like sitting with a zombie. And it was the most painful day I spent with her, because that connection is just not there because she doesn't want it there. This is my imagination. This is just me expressing myself, you know. So I've got that to look forward to tomorrow. But the good news is, the longer it's been since I was on hard drugs, I feel the more she will accept me and the more she will begin to love me again. So I set up my lunch, not my lunch, I set up the lunch at the cathedral. There was a lot of people helping, and it still took a while to do it. I remember putting all the coffee cups out. I remember putting all the cupcakes into big dishes and putting them out. I remember serving salad to people. I had a doctor's appointment, and oh my god, I let all the triggers in. Like how Teal Swan says, "Let the triggers in." So I let the triggers in, and I was being rude in the way I was staring at this woman, and it was all because I'd been letting the triggers in. And it was okay though, because one of the priests, or whatever his title is, yeah, it's probably above priest. He said he totally was staring at her, yeah. As I walked out to go to the toilet, I says, "It's because I'm letting all the triggers in." And then when I came back, he goes, what he said, he was just shook by what I said. And it did kind of help. No, it actually didn't help, because I started doing it again later on because I felt like I was just going to lose the plot, because I was getting a lot of comments off of people, and I didn't want to have to get to that point, and I can handle being at this point, but for some reason I didn't want to get to that point where I had to how does it say it on the internet? Would have had to hold my anger and be mindful in how I expressed myself, that these people were hurting me with their comments. I was in a doctor's surgery and I was getting a lot of comments off of people, mostly the same people. So what I did was I went into the full me. I went into the triggers again, and what that did was, because I hadn't handled it in the proper way of handling it, which was to hold my anger and just keep saying, "Look, please, you're hurting me," to all these comments that I was getting, that would have eased my anxiety. It would have actually lowered my anxiety. But because I went into the triggers, what happened there is, how if you go into triggers, you become a little bit off balance, and people can sense it, and people just trigger you, and try and topple you over when you're like that. And that's what was happening. And it caused my anxiety to go through the roof. And when I was in with my doctors, she gave me, it all turned out for the best, because she gave me some clonazepam. She wanted me to take 2 milligrams every night for a week and then see her in a week, right? She must think I'm in quite a state to ask to see me in a week, because she did it before when I came off my injection and I was psychotic. And she just wanted to check that I wasn't going too psychotic, check me every week. Um, but so what it is, yeah, it's how do I say this? I mean, I wouldn't make the mistake again of trying to find the wrong way of dealing with that situation. I would be strong. There's only one way to deal with that situation, and that's to be strong. And so I'll hold my anger and just say, please stop, you're hurting me, And if they keep saying comments, just say again, please stop, you're hurting me, And I did it before at the bus stop when a guy was getting so freaking aroused over me, yeah? And I felt like it felt really rapey, right? And I held my anger and I says, you're hurting me. And he apologized and he said sorry. So I feel in that doctor's surgery, if I'd have got a load more comments, I said, please stop, you're really hurting me. People are human, people have feelings, people have compassion, and I feel they would have stopped, and that would have stopped it, or at least toned it down to a point where the comments weren't something that was causing me anxiety. Yeah. So that's my story of going into triggers, and really it was a bad experience. Which is funny because I went into my triggers yesterday morning, not for the whole day, just for the morning, and it worked out really well. I felt more alive, I felt more aware, and I swear, maybe there's something in it going into triggers, but like I say, if I'm around people who are very close-minded and very abusive, and I'm literally trapped in a doctor's surgery because I've got to attend the appointment, I can't just leave, with some really close-minded people. Although the secretary did say, there's nothing wrong with what they're saying. So there's a bit of confusion there. But one time it worked, one time it just totally destroyed me, and I ended up on clonazepam. As soon as I got out of that doctor's, the doctor told me to take some straight away. I went to the chemist, I got them, got a bottle of water, and took them. I was in that much of a mess. So that's my story of triggers, letting triggers in. Although when I did it yesterday, I was fully up for flirting, right? I was feeling really, really confident, like as you do when you're not triggered, I feel really, really confident. I was super confident. And there's this girl she looked so gorgeous. And she walked past me. I thought, why did I let her go past? Why didn't I go up to her and say, like, yeah, I figured this out later on, actually. Say something like, you're so sexy, you're so beautiful, I want you, and she'll probably just carry on walking, but, it's nice to, it always gives me a really good sense of well-being when I flirt with someone. I always know I've done the right thing, and that I just feel really warm inside and really happy, and I knew that I could have continued on in that day, here and there, flirting with people. but like I allowed the trigger in, I allowed a small trigger in, and it was a very small trigger, but what that did was it opened a doorway, because concentrating on that trigger and trying to let it in opened me up to the idea of letting in all the triggers that I got that morning. So I did, and I got deeply, deeply triggered. And I couldn't flirt with anyone when I was in that state of mind. It was the furthest thing from my mind. It was. Yeah, so that's my story. I think that's my story, and I'm going to end it there. Have a good one. Goodbye.